Good morning. How are you two doing today?
Wonderful. Thank you.
We got to start off with the cover of the book. I know they tell us do not judge a book by its cover, but what I love about the cover of this book, first of all, the colors are amazing. But the thing that really, to me, grabbed my soul was that made in Asian America. Look at the different Asians featured. We all think one thing sometimes, and that's wrong. And you really do put a lot of time and energy into describing how we all look, if you know what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. This is Erika, and we're so thrilled with the cover of the book and glad that you think it's amazing as well. And for sure, we wanted the diversity of those who identify as Asian Americans to be represented not only in the words in the book, but especially on the cover because, as my sister, a middle school librarian, tells me, the kids will only pick up books that have compelling and cool grabbing covers.
You're so right about that. One of the things that I've learned about talking with YA authors is that they want to be able to see themselves on that cover. And that's what I love about how publishers are so open to that these days, because people see themselves and then they dive into the story.
Absolutely. And Erika and I both grew up, in history classes, not seeing ourselves represented in the books that we were reading. I actually did not read a book by an Asian American author the entire time I was in school. It wasn't until I was an adult. And that's a huge part of why we wrote this book, so that kids can see themselves, they can learn about Asian Americans and their incredible role in our nation's history.
And to respect it. And see, and I think that's where I really started growing with the Asian cultures, because in Taekwondo, they made sure, my South Korean instructor told me, he goes, if you don't know my country's history, you don't know the martial art. And that opened up the entire door of learning about the Asian culture.
Absolutely. There's so many different ways that we in the United States start to learn about its incredibly diverse cultures, peoples, and histories. Sometimes it can be through stereotypes. We actually have a great section that Christina introduced about Asian American food, because I think for so many, we understand Asian Americans through the restaurants that we might visit, whether it's Panda Express or, something that may be a little bit, quote unquote, more authentic. And so we really try to reach our readers through both what they may know already and sort of interact with on a day-to-day basis, but also encourage them to dig deeper into what they may not know and what they may not have been taught in their own classrooms and in their own library books.
That's so funny that you bring that up, because part of my studies for Taekwondo was they said that they didn't put it on the outside of the building because people would come in thinking it was a restaurant. They didn't know what Taekwondo was. They didn't know what Kung Fu was until it was a television show. And so many people judge on that kind of thing. And that's why on all buildings, it seems, it says karate, because people know it. But you're absolutely right about those restaurants. Is it authentic? That's where I want to go. I want to go to an authentic restaurant and support as they grow in our community.
That's wonderful. And Erika and I both hail from restaurant families.
Wow.
And it's funny that you talk about authentic, because my parents moved to a small town in Texas, opened up the very first Asian restaurant in the county. And even though we were Thai, my family is from Thailand, we opened a Chinese restaurant because that's what people would know.
That's right.
And on our menu, we served chicken fried steak, because this was the 1980s, and that's what you had to do.
I love how in your book, ordinary people doing extraordinary acts. I love that, because that's that inspiration or that push forward for someone who's reading the book to go, I can do it. They said I could. I'm going to go do something extraordinary today.
We tried to select as many stories of real people as possible and tell history through their eyes, because we felt like that would be most relevant, most interesting to our young readers. And we knew, there are going to be some folks that are very well known, like Patsy Mink was a House representative who was the architect of Title IX, or Erika Lee, who is an Olympic gold medalist. But we also had these incredible stories of regular people, most of them kids, teenagers that we found that are not covered in many history books that most people wouldn't know. But yes, just through their everyday actions of resilience, perseverance, and standing up for what's right for themselves and for other people, they are just as much heroes as anyone else.
I love the idea that you're reaching to the young people, because I believe that they can be the conversation starter for their elders, and to just get the conversation going, because we live in this generation now where it seems like the elders who have lived this life don't get to really to share their story, because everybody else is going, I'm just getting on with my own life. But a book like this says, wait a minute, take your time, understand what's going on, let's create a conversation.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I've gotten so many emails and messages from readers of my books that have been written for adults, telling me how, for the first time, they were able to better understand where their parents had come from and why they grew up the way that they did. And it's our hope that with this new book, reaching a new generation of young people, that they will be able to have those conversations as well, to see themselves in these histories, to, like you said earlier, see themselves as changers, because the histories that we profile are almost exclusively about people who were doing amazing things when they were young, when they were in middle and high school. We start and end with activists today who have been advocating for Asian American history and studies in their own high schools and curriculum. And we hope that this is a bridge not only for the next generation, but also a source of inspiration for them.
What did you two learn from this? Because when you go into a book like this, you're students, and as students, you've got to create that path that's going to reach a reader.
Yes, and oh my gosh, what I learned so much. So I actually came to this project having read Erika's books for adults just as a reader. And I remember the first time I read her book, The Making of Asian America, and it was eye-opening how much history I didn't know about my own history. This is my own story of how my family came to America, and I had no idea. And then, so you could I was to be getting the call that I'm going to be working with her on a project like this for young people. But just the way that she helps you see patterns across time and how they pop up again and again. So, for example, the ways that Asian Americans have been scapegoated in the past for bringing disease to America or for taking away jobs. Gosh, doesn't that sound relevant to things that we hear, in recent history, right? In just the last few years. And so when you notice those patterns, when you see those things repeating, that's when we can take action and say, okay, we're not going to let these things happen again. We're going to stand up and make sure we're changing history in the moment.
Wow. Is there a website? Because people are going to read this book and they're going to want more. Where can people go to continue to grow forward?
Erika and I both have websites. So mine is Soontornvant.com and Erika's is erikalee.org. And we both have links to the book there. And we also have this incredible discussion guide that was written by educators that's going to help guide the conversations that are going to come up around the book.
That is so cool. You guys have got to come back to this show anytime in the future. Please use this platform as a way to reach new people.
Oh, we'd love to.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, you be brilliant today, you two, okay?
Thank you so much.